Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Cosmic Dive. I'm astrologer Shane Smith, and it's so good to have you here. I hope you enjoyed a wonderful Valentine's Day this past Saturday. Certainly lots of love in the air. I felt it. Hope you did too as well. Well, we've got a lot to unpack for this session, and I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get right to it. Here we go. On the weekly Cosmic Dive, we guide you through the week ahead using vibrational astrology. We explore the key planetary vibrations and discover how to work with them in supportive and uplifting ways. We use this knowledge to strengthen our alignment with the natural rhythm and wisdom of the cosmos. Yeah. This is for the week of February 16th through the 23rd. And as I mentioned, a lot is happening this week, including tomorrow's solar eclipse. We'll talk a bit about that. So let's strap on your seat belts and make sure your trays are in their upright and locked positions. Here we go. Let's prepare by just remembering that there are a lot of planetary vibrations happening at any given time. And we tune into these frequencies much as we do a radio station, and we do it by choice. Which frequencies do you choose to frequent? Here's the eclipse chart for tomorrow. It happens at 5 o'clock a.m. Broomfield, Colorado time, and that will be pretty much the same for anything in the Mountain Standard Region. And I'll point out a few things here that we see. You'll notice still a bunch of planets in Aquarius. We have Pluto, Mars, Sun, and Moon. In fact, the Sun and the Moon, as you can see, are both 28 degrees, 50 minutes in Aquarius. They're in the late degrees of Aquarius. And that means they're conjunct. That means it's a new moon. However, their proximity to the node of the moon makes it a solar eclipse. Let me explain that for just a moment here. Eclipses occur when the moon is near one of its nodes, specifically within about 11 degrees, 38 minutes for lunar eclipses, and 17 degrees, 25 minutes for solar eclipses. This alignment is necessary for the sun, earth, and moon to be in the correct position for an eclipse to happen. Now, just an aside, not only is this eclipse happening, but we're starting a brand new Chinese New Year, the year of the fire horse. And if that image means anything, you can see this horse racing, galloping across a field, and you hold on tight because you don't want to fall off. So this is going to be a fast year. A lot of events will unpack quickly. In fact, if you look at the 2026, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 equals 10, 1 plus 0 equals 1. 1 is the first number of the sequence. In numerology, we know that 1 says, I'm starting things off in a grand style, and I'm doing it fast, and I'm doing it, full speed ahead. So just to prepare you for the vibration for the year. So what this eclipse will do is set the tone for the next 6 months until the next eclipse. In fact, if we look back at the last eclipse, the last solar eclipse was September 21st, 2025. That happened at 29 degrees, 5 minutes of Virgo, and it was opposed Saturn-Neptune. We'll talk more about Saturn-Neptune. I have in the past. Wow. So what's happening with this eclipse? Let's take a closer peek, shall we? First of all, Pisces has a Venus node and Mercury. We have Aries, Saturn and Neptune, and Taurus, Uranus, and Cancer, Jupiter. We don't want to ignore those other outer planets, Uranus and Jupiter. Okay, so what I've done here is I've bracketed the planets that are close together in the eclipse chart for tomorrow's event. And we see the sun and the moon together, as we talked about. And then we also see Venus and the node. So the Venus is somehow entwirled into this vibration. And what is Venus? Venus is love, compassion, the appreciation of beauty, anything that's creative. Okay, so, and then we have that Saturn-Neptune I bracketed in Aries. And it was just Friday, as a matter of fact, that Saturn went into Aries. And now they're both, Saturn and Neptune, on the cardinal point, or the world axis, as some people would say. And what that means is it brings out the energies onto the world stage so that you get to see exactly what's going on under the scenes. Yeah, because Neptune likes to hide things. It's kind of this hazy, fuzzy, energy. Saturn exposes. Saturn says, okay, let's bring it out so that we can examine it a little more closely, a little more realistically. And I like to say that the energies of these planets involves dissolving old structures while realizing new visions, because Neptune is visions, Saturn is structure. And when the two get together, then we're going to have that energy of breaking apart something and bringing into realization something brand new. On top of that, we have, as I mentioned last week, well, before I get to that, we have Uranus now in the picture, because Uranus is doing a fourth harmonic to the eclipse point of moon and the sun. So before I get back to Saturn and Neptune, let me talk a little bit about this. Uranus is change. Uranus brings about sudden, drastic, in many cases, changes. And it will be on it'll be what we call a square to the eclipse of the sun and the moon tomorrow. And so when this happens, we see energies that say, wow, we got to shake things up a little bit so that we can start afresh. So expect for the next 6 months, and maybe even within a few weeks of this eclipse, some sudden changes happening on the world stage. Also, perhaps in your own life, you might find that you are looking at ways to steer a new course, either in your job or relationships, things of that nature. So here we go. Uranus with this configuration, with the solar eclipse, gives you permission to go in that direction. So I would like to talk now about that Uranus-Pluto midpoint structure that we have examined in the last couple of sessions, where Saturn and Neptune now are at that midpoint between Uranus and Pluto. Uranus is, as I mentioned, that change. Pluto brings in this very deep transformative energy. And now with Saturn and Neptune dissolving structures in the middle of that, my gosh, we have dissolving old structures while realizing new visions in rapid, spontaneous, and profound ways. Holy smoly, that's a lot of stuff going on. So can you ride this energy out? Let's hope so, okay? We'll see how it works. I guess the key to dealing with planetary energies is meditate, be in silence, enjoy reading, enjoy quiet times. Don't get too caught up in world events or even in the events of your own life. Find that center, find that balance, and come to that core of who you really are. Because in that core is that access to your higher self, which can bring that calm certainty that is needed to make this a very winnable situation. Okay, I'll use that. Okay, so enough about the Saturn-Neptune with the Uranus-Pluto midpoint. If we were to zoom in on exactly what that looks like tomorrow morning at 5, I did that using the graphs that I usually use, which I'll get to in just a moment. We see that at 5 o'clock, Saturn, Mercury, and Neptune are together in harmonic 26. Harmonic 26 is actually a part of the harmonic 13 vibrational family. And 13 has to do with going above and beyond, transforming excellence. When we have Mercury there with Saturn, Neptune, that means we're thinking about it. We're talking about it. We're expressing ideas with one another or within our own selves about it. And here I am talking about it here because I think this is actually going on right now as we speak. Then we have in harmonic 9, which harmonic 9 is a very peaceful, community-oriented vibration. We have Mars and Saturn and Neptune together. So that means we're going to do something about it because Mars is action. And then we also have Saturn, Neptune, and Venus in harmonic 33. And 33 is in the 11th vibration series. And 11 vibration is restless. It wants progress. It wants change, and it wants it quickly. And so when we introduce Venus, Venus says, okay, how can I do this with love, compassion, and an appreciation for my fellow human beings? So that's a quick look at tomorrow. All right, here is the whole week. Today, we see a peak of the flowing and creative vibration. And what that involves is Uranus and Mercury primarily, and then Jupiter and Saturn in various combinations. This underscores sudden, innovative, and big ideas getting simplified and practical in creative and flowing ways. How can you make that happen today? Tomorrow, there is the solar eclipse. And here we see primarily a vibration 9 and 27 with Mars, Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune. I talked about those. We'll be dissolving existing structures and putting form on new ones in a smooth and harmonious way. And actually, you'll notice that green line, which is the healing and harmony line, we are carrying that through into Wednesday with that same energy of Mars, Saturn, Neptune. And then there are some other combinations that take place, but it's still within that smooth, harmonious, flowing, healing and harmony direction. So seek peace Tuesdays and Wednesdays of this week, okay? Then we get into Thursday and we see the emergence of the flowing and creative line. That's the blue line going up into Friday. So we'll treat that as a pair, Thursday and Friday. That involves Mars, Uranus, and Jupiter. Mars, Uranus, and Jupiter in the 15th harmonic, which is part of the flowing and creative harmonic. This is a spontaneous, flowing, creative development. What can you do that will be developing in a very creative, spontaneous way? You can make it happen Wednesday through Friday. I'm ignoring some of these other peaks because I want to get to some of the more important things. Saturday, I think, is really interesting because we have a nice transformational peak happening, and that involves Saturn and Neptune in various combinations. Of course, when you have Neptune and Saturn in conjunction, you'll also see them in the higher vibrations as well. So this is appearing in the 13th, which is the excellence and transformation vibration. It involves Venus, among other planets, Mercury, and so forth. So you might want to think about on Saturday and Sunday a sense of identity or destiny and mission that calls for imagination and ideals brought to light with grounded practicality. Okay? Just bring those dreams down to earth and make them happen in a way that makes you feel like I've done something that has gone above mediocrity. Wow, I've gone a little over, but that's the week. A lot to think about, right? I hope you enjoyed this weekly Cosmic Dive. I look forward to seeing you next week. Remember, which frequencies do you wish to frequent? Thank you and have a great week. Bye-bye.